She released a tweet about 37 minutes ago. It stated the WNBA and WBPA have reached an agreement on a moratorium for league business. Sources tell ESPN this is necessary because the sides had failed to reach an agreement on a CBA agreement or an extension by the January 9th deadline. So with that being said, they have come up with some type of agreement. Now, I just want to look up something real quick before we dive a little deeper in this.
Let's be clear about what just happened here. The WNBA and its players' union just announced a moratorium on league business. And if you're thinking that sounds like progress, you need to understand what that word actually means. A moratorium is a temporary suspension. It's a pause button. It's not a solution. It's a delay tactic, and what they're really telling us is that after missing the January 9th deadline to reach a new collective bargaining agreement, both sides are so far apart that they can't even handle basic operations like free agency right now. Ramona Shelburne broke this story for ESPN on a Monday evening, roughly 37 minutes after the announcement went out. The WNBA and WNBPA have reached an agreement on a moratorium for league business. That's the official language. But here's what that actually translates to. They've agreed to freeze everything because they still can't agree on anything substantial.
So from my understanding, based off this little moratorium thing, hopefully I'm saying that right, they have decided to do, this is not giving us a 2026 season. I do want to be clear there. I believe they reached an agreement to this just a proper word to continue negotiations, if I'm reading this correctly. So as of right now, it's still basically they still don't have a WNBA CBA agreement. Now Alexa Philippou
This is where it gets messy. Under normal circumstances, January 11th would have kicked off the free agency period. Qualifying offers would go out. Core designations, which work similar to the NFL's franchise tag, would be applied to restricted free agents. Teams would start building their rosters for the 2026 season, but none of that is happening now. The moratorium specifically targets free agency operations. No qualifying offers can be sent. No core designations can be applied. No signings can be executed. All negotiations are frozen. The only players currently locked in for 2026 outside this mess are Lexi Brown and Kalani Brown, the only non-rookie contract players already signed through next season. Everyone else is in limbo. And here's the part that should concern every fan. This isn't just an administrative inconvenience. This is a fundamental breakdown in the relationship between ownership and players.
24 months, I'm gonna say. And I don't know, man. A lot of people got in the comment section of her post and now Alexa Philippou, and they're talking about it. Ramona stated, didn't make sense for teams to be offering qualifying offers, core destination, or courting free agents until there was a new CBA agreement. So I'm wondering if the players is doing this to stop free agency. That's what this tweet is saying. You know, somebody else said this is actually bad news for fans and coaches. Coaches will have to implement complex systems.
The league sent out an initial proposal for this moratorium late Sunday night, around 11 p.m. Eastern Time. But according to sources familiar with the negotiations, the union immediately pushed back. They felt the proposal contained unnecessary language beyond simply delaying free agency. Think about that for a second. Even when trying to agree on how to pause negotiations, they couldn't agree on the terms of the pause. The WNBPA demanded that extra language be removed. The league responded Monday afternoon. Only then did the union accept it. We're talking about multiple rounds of negotiation just to agree on how to stop negotiating. That's how fractured this relationship has become. And while both sides are putting out careful statements about continuing discussions and maintaining the status quo, let's call this what it is: a stalemate. Neither side is willing to budge on the core issues that matter.
This tweet had me thinking we were going somewhere else. Right, man, like it had got so bad I straight had to Google what the word meant, because I ain't gonna lie to you, I didn't even know what the damn word meant. Now, this is not a good look for the WNBA players or owners, man. Y'all still can't come up with an agreement. Y'all still can't come up with a system in place to get us a 2026 season? Because basically what y'all saying is that we still at the negotiation table. We still haven't made any progress in the current state of the whole negotiation situation. This is ugly. This is not a good look for the WNBA players. This is not a good look for the owners. And guess who suffered? The fans is suffering because we still don't know.
Now we need to talk about what this means for the 2026 season itself, because that's the question everyone's asking. And the honest answer is nobody knows. This moratorium doesn't guarantee a season happens. It doesn't set a new deadline. It doesn't outline a path forward. It just freezes the current situation until they figure something out. One commenter on Alexa Philippou's post nailed the reality. This is actually bad news for fans and coaches. Think about the logistics here. Coaches will have to implement complex systems in a condensed off-season with very little time for player development and chemistry building. That directly hurts the product on the court. The longer this drags out, the less preparation time teams have, even if a deal eventually gets done. And then there's the nuclear option that people are starting to whisper about, replacement players. Like the 2000 movie The Replacements with Keanu Reeves, except this wouldn't be a comedy. If this standoff continues and ownership decides they want to operate without the current player pool, we could see a scab league that would be catastrophic for the WNBA's credibility and momentum.
Players need clarity. And it seemed like none of y'all know what the hell y'all doing, and we just sitting here now. Now we're just sitting here day in and day out. Y'all keep, once again, donkey in a carrot, bruh. This looking very donkey in a carrot-ish. I just gotta be honest here with you guys. Let me see what Annie Constable said. Maybe Annie Constable might give us some more clarity on this. She stated the WNBA and WPA have agreed to a moratorium for league business specific for free agency. Put simply, qualifying offers or core destinations and signings will be paused for. So basically, like what we said,
Here's what makes this particularly frustrating. The WNBA just came off its most successful season in league history. Caitlin Clark's rookie year drove unprecedented ratings and attendance. Viewership records shattered across multiple broadcasts. Expansion teams are being added. Media rights deals are being renegotiated at higher values by every external metric. The league is thriving, and yet, behind closed doors, the business side is collapsing. The players want a larger share of that growing revenue pie. They want better travel conditions, higher salaries, improved benefits. Ownership wants to protect profit margins and maintain control over league operations. These are classic labor disputes, but the timing couldn't be worse. The current CBA was already operating under what they keep calling status quo conditions. That phrase has become a running joke at this point. Status quo means the old agreement's terms remain in place during negotiations, but we've been hearing about status quo for days now, and it's become clear that status quo isn't sustainable. Something has to give.
p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, the union felt it contained unnecessary language beyond simply delaying the free agency. According to a source familiar with the negotiation, it looked to remove that league in. And it goes on to say the WBPA received a response from the league Monday afternoon and accepted it. The motion will apply specifically to free agency. So basically, they're stopping free agency, man, including the sending of qualifying offers or core destination signing and all negotiation. The motion will end when a new collective bargaining agreement is rectified. So as of right now, they're using big words telling us it still ain't no damn 2026 season. Now, the glitch in the system is the results from January 9th when the deadline paused and they did not reach a CBA agreement. Now, typically during free agent period, qualifying offers.
Let's dig into the specific mechanics of what's frozen right now, because this affects different players in different ways. Qualifying offers are sent to free agents on expiring contracts who have 4 years of service, or players finishing the 4th year of their rookie scale deal. These offers give teams the right to match any offer sheet from another team, making these players restricted free agents rather than unrestricted. Core designation is even more restrictive. It's essentially the franchise tag. A team can core a player and keep them for another year at a predetermined salary, preventing them from testing the market at all. Players hate this because it limits their earning potential and freedom of movement, but teams rely on it to retain star players when contract negotiations break down. All of that is frozen now. Players who expected to test free agency are stuck. Teams that wanted to lock down their stars can't. The entire offseason mechanism has ground to a halt, and the longer this continues, the more chaos it creates when things eventually unfreeze. Imagine trying to conduct an entire offseason's worth of transactions in a compressed 2-week window. That's the scenario we're heading toward.
In this period of status quo, which I'm so tired of hearing about the status quo thing, because we're not I don't know what the hell they doing, man, but this is ugly because we constantly hearing about the status quo thing. We already talked about the status quo time after time again for the last 3 damn days. I don't want to hear about the status quo no more. I want to hear about a deal getting done. And as of right now, a deal is not getting done. This is a very, very ugly situation, and it don't look like it's going to get better anytime soon. I want to know what y'all thoughts is down in the comment section right now. Keep them bells on. I will be back with more content. And until next time, man, shake.
So where does this leave us? Let's synthesize what we actually know versus what we're being told. The official narrative is that both sides are committed to reaching a fair agreement and continuing productive negotiations. They've implemented this moratorium to provide space for those discussions without the pressure of free agency deadlines complicating things. It's a measured, reasonable approach to a complex situation. But here's what the evidence actually shows. The January 9th deadline came and went with no agreement. Not even close to an agreement, apparently, since they couldn't even conduct basic league business afterward. They had to create this moratorium because the alternative was complete operational paralysis. The initial moratorium proposal itself became a point of contention, requiring multiple revisions before acceptance. These are not the actions of two parties close to a deal, and let's talk about the pattern we've seen over the last 24 months. These negotiations have been ongoing for 2 years, 2 full years to work out the terms of a new CBA. The deadline was known well in advance. Both sides had ample time to make progress. And yet, here we are, past the deadline, with no resolution and no clear timeline for one. The players have legitimate grievances. WNBA salaries, even for stars, are a fraction of what male athletes earn in comparable leagues. Travel conditions have been substandard, with players flying commercial while NBA players get chartered flights. The revenue-sharing model heavily favors ownership, despite the league's recent growth. These aren't unreasonable concerns, but ownership has legitimate concerns too. The WNBA has operated at a loss for most of its existence, subsidized by the NBA. The recent growth is encouraging, but it's not yet clear if it's sustainable or just a temporary spike driven by one generational talent. Giving players a significantly larger revenue share before confirming the league's long-term financial viability is a risk. The problem is that both sides seem to be negotiating from positions of principle rather than pragmatism. The players feel they've been underpaid and undervalued for decades, and they're not willing to accept incremental improvements anymore. They want transformational change. Ownership feels they've invested heavily in a league that hasn't been profitable, and they're not willing to guarantee money they're not sure they'll have. Those positions aren't necessarily incompatible, but they require compromise. And right now, neither side seems willing to compromise enough to bridge the gap. Here's what concerns me most about this situation. The WNBA has momentum right now, real tangible momentum that could transform the league's long-term prospects. Caitlin Clark brought mainstream attention that the WNBA has never had before. Casual sports fans who never watched women's basketball tuned in. Sponsors increased their investments. Media coverage expanded dramatically. But momentum is fragile. If the 2026 season is delayed, or worse, canceled entirely, that momentum evaporates. Casual fans move on to other sports. Sponsors get nervous about their investments. Media coverage shifts back to treating the WNBA as a niche product. All the gains from 2025 could be lost. And here's the thing that makes this so frustrating. Both sides should understand this. The players should understand that their leverage to demand better conditions comes from the league's growing popularity. If that popularity collapses, their negotiating position weakens dramatically. Ownership should understand that the recent growth represents a once-in-a-generation opportunity to establish the WNBA as a major professional sports league. Missing that window would be catastrophic. So why can't they figure this out? Part of it is the inherent difficulty of labor negotiations. These are complex agreements covering dozens of issues, from salary caps to revenue sharing to working conditions to playoff structures. Getting alignment on all of them simultaneously is genuinely hard, but part of it is also ego and mistrust. The players don't trust ownership to fairly share revenue or prioritize their well-being. Ownership doesn't trust the players to understand the financial realities of running a professional sports league. That mutual mistrust makes every negotiation point more difficult because neither side believes the other is negotiating in good faith. The moratorium buys time, but time alone won't solve this. What's needed is a fundamental shift in how both sides approach these negotiations. They need to stop treating this as a zero-sum game, where one side's gain is the other side's loss. The recent growth proves there's more money to go around. The question is how to divide it fairly, while ensuring the league's long-term sustainability. My prediction: this drags on for at least another month, probably longer. We'll see more deadlines come and go. More statements about productive negotiations and status quo conditions. More frustration from fans who just want to know if there's going to be a season. Eventually, probably under pressure from sponsors and media partners who need certainty, both sides will reach a compromise. It won't be everything the players wanted. It won't be everything ownership wanted. But it'll be enough to get a season started. The question is whether that compromise comes in time to preserve the momentum from 2025, or whether the delay costs the league the opportunity it fought so hard to create. Because here's the reality: the WNBA might never get another Caitlin Clark, another player who transcends the sport and brings mainstream attention. Squandering that opportunity over a labor dispute would be one of the biggest mistakes in professional sports history. So to the players and ownership, figure this out. Find the compromise. Make the deal. Because every day this drags on, you're gambling with the future of women's professional basketball. And that's a bet you can't afford to lose. What do you think happens next? Does this get resolved in time for a full 2026 season? Or are we headed for a delayed or canceled season? Drop your prediction in the comments, and let me know if you think the players or ownership are more at fault here. Hit subscribe if you want to stay updated as this situation develops, because something tells me we're going to be talking about this for a while.